And welcome back to the channel. It's been quite some time. Um, I wonder how many of you were wondering if I would even come back. I mean, I just kind of disappeared, didn't say anything, didn't provide any updates. Um, I'll come out and apologize for that up front, but that's kind of what this video is for. It's a return to form. I didn't give up. I don't plan on giving up. I'm going to push forward, but I kind of want to explain what happened. So, you know, this video is going to cover what happened over the last 4 months, my fitness plan, my new goals, um, how I'm going to be tracking all of that data, and, kind of like what my upload plan will be for the rest of this year for this project, for however long it goes for. Um, if you want to skip the story or you want to skip to a specific point in the video, go ahead and check out the timestamps down in the description and skip to the part that you want to see. And without further ado, let's hop into what happened. So, at the end of December, I was really riding high. I had a really good last workout and last few workouts, and I got a bunch of footage from actually the week after the last week you saw, um, and it was great. I was out there. It's since gone. I don't have it anymore to show. Um, but what occurred was I actually caught a cold. I don't think I caught a cold because of being outside, out in the cold, out in the elements, and all of that stuff. I just caught a cold, I think, because my son was attending speech therapy at the time, and I think that he caught something from that environment and then brought it home. Um, but I caught the cold. And I spent the last couple weeks of December deciding, well, I've been training really, really hard for a good 2.5 months or so, and really kind of like more than that. I only really started recording again and actually uploading in October. So, but I had been training since about June. So this return to form thing will actually be the third time I'm trying this out kind of thing. So, and I think this time will stick. Um, but I had a major setback, and what occurred was I got sick, just got a cold. Nothing crazy, regular congestion and everything like that. Treated it well. I rested, and I got to, because it was winter break for the university that I work at, I got to just kind of like stay home and play video games and hang out with my kid and my wife, and it was great. And then one day, this was actually, I want to say, was it New Year's or the day after New Year's? Something like that. I'd have to check the calendar specifically, but um, just before I was supposed to return back from this winter break and get back to work. I was sitting there playing a game, and all of a sudden, I just really noticed that my heart was beating really, really, really hard, and that I was just out of breath sitting there playing a video game, which was really strange, especially considering even if I got sick, my physical level at that point was way higher than such a reaction should suggest. And so I was really concerned. I ended up taking my blood pressure, and it kept reading between, 140 and 150 over 100 to 110. Really high for blood pressure for resting. I mean, my heart rate was resting at like 100 or something like that. And beforehand, especially when doing all the exercising I was doing, it had been like 60, 70 resting, pretty fairly normal for a heavier guy. And it was just really strange. And the pounding was just it was very consistent, and it just felt like my heart was trying to beat out of my chest, and my lungs were hurting. It was hard to get air and everything like that. It just felt like I wasn't getting enough. And so I ended up going to the ER, you know, the following day after this happened, and I got checked out, and they didn't find a thing. They took a chest x-ray, didn't find any inflammation or anything to suggest that there was some chronic crazy issue occurring or something emergent. And so they gave me a bit of medicine and sent me back home with a referral back to my doctor. And that's kind of what began the whole process. The whole debacle, I guess I can say. Um, I will forewarn you, the rest of this isn't some tale where we find out some crazy thing is wrong with me. I am fine as far as any sort of medical professional can tell from my lab work, from all the testing I did. Um, Today, was it May 2nd of 2026? I'm actually fine. Nothing was actually found. But what happened in between there was um, the setback itself. And so after that thing that happened at the very beginning of January, I kind of had a swift decline. And what occurred was I got to the point where I couldn't do anything without running out of breath. I had no energy. I was having I was having like strength loss. I was, having almost like fainting episodes, lightheadedness, all the rest of it, but yet the doctors still didn't find anything. Granted, I think that the timeline on my testing could have been a little bit quicker. But I live in Alaska in Anchorage, and for better or for worse, I was treated the way I was. Um, and it was about a month of barely being able to get up the stairs here in my house, and I was mostly just in bed sleeping. I was not at work for about the first month, the whole month of January. And then going into February, I finally went back to work, but I could only work like 2 hours a day for almost the entire month of February. And then I was upgraded to like 4 hours a day, I think like halfway through March or something like that. And I rode that until the end of April, where I finally was released to full time. In between that, though, I got a number of tests done. I got multiple EKGs. I went and saw a cardiologist because, me and my doctor, we wanted to kind of track down the worst possible issues first and then move down to the least, you know, impactful ones. And all the while taking blood tests and all that stuff. And there were some like I, not clinically significant indicators, but some like small indicators that there was definitely an issue going on. My blood gas venous, I got that test done, showed me within normal range, but on like high values and low and high edges of those normal ranges for certain things. Some of those actually gave us a little bit of insight as to what was happening, but that test came so late in the process that for all I know, I recovered enough from whatever it is that bothered me um, before the test occurred so that, honestly, if I had gotten that test a couple days after this occurrence had happened, maybe we would have actually seen a real issue. But either which way, I had a theory that it was, I think it's something called hypercarbia. It's where you're getting too much CO2 in your blood and not enough oxygen. So that can cause paranoia, all sorts of different physical ailments, and all sorts of stuff. Basically, it's like CO2 poisoning. And here in Alaska, well, I'll tell you right now, this home is not, um, there's no HVAC. in this entire apartment complex. These are pretty old condos that we live in, and HVAC isn't that common, especially amongst the older buildings here in Alaska, just because heat is all that really truly matters. It only gets up to like 70, 75 max, sometimes 80 during the summer. So people don't have AC units. Most people don't have AC units. So there isn't really a whole lot of need for that evacuation. Just open a window, you know. But in the winter, most people have these places closed. You know, I have a theory about that. The whole like, I remember toting before about like indooritis and the fact that I think that people get indooritis, and now I think I have a real medical like um, something to attribute it to, and it's people are being shut into their homes for too long, breathing in rancid air, and they can start going a little crazy, start drinking and smoking more, and doing God knows what, and who knows. So, um, moving on though, I kind of thought it was that. So I started a fresh air protocol. This is like at the end of January, and it kind of helped for a little bit, but I plateaued really fast on my recovery. And it wasn't enough to even get me. I mean, this was before I was doing like the 2 hours per day at work. And at that point, you know, I was going out almost daily outside to, you know, go to work and everything like that. So there were periods of good solid periods of time where I was getting really fresh air throughout that, and I was still struggling just to wipe the or scrape snow and ice off my car or even walk to my car. You know, I was basically relegated to driving to the warehouse and sitting in my chair at my desk, which is about 30 feet away from where I park the car. So it wasn't really that difficult, and it was all I could manage. And then I would come home and nap for 3, 4 hours in addition to sleeping, you know, a full 8 to 9 hours each night. It was really, really hard. As such, my doctor was awesome in that he quickly got me onto some antidepressants as soon as kind of this thing started, and it became very evident that the finding out process might take a long time. So, you know, he got me on that medication, and I took it faithfully and honestly, and it really, really helped me stay mindful and um, stay grounded. Um, to the point that I mean, the whole time, even though it sucked, like, I was super hopeful and very anxious to just get out of it, get better, and get back to it. I mean, even when the doctor mentioned, oh, you know, maybe we, you know, for all we know, this could be organ failure, heart failure, possibly cancer, some other sort of chronic terminal thing. And each time, you know, we found out, well, no, it's not going to be that from my CBC or from my EKG or some test that went on, you know. During any of those times, I never felt fatalistic. I never felt my mortality at all. There was a few nights where I felt like I was a little scared to go to sleep. I didn't know if I'd wake up. I mean, laying down, my heart rate would just go up. My heart would pound, and all I could feel and hear is my heart pounding. I mean, I could feel it to my fingertips. It was horrible. Um, and I would go to sleep to my heartbeat. It was so horrible, man. I mean, I can't I can't explain enough like how scary that is. Um, but when you're going through the process, you keep finding out that nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. And like I knew there was nothing wrong basically by the end of February. I knew that whatever this was, it wasn't something that was going to kill me right now, because if it was, it would have, right? So like just looking at it logically, like it just didn't bother me. So I getting through this setback was interesting. I've never really gotten through something like this the way I did. Um, I managed not to go back to my vices. Well, aside from food, but I did manage not to go back to marijuana, to nicotine, um, uh, to pornography. I didn't go back to any of it, and I just kept playing video games, like a lot of video games, and a lot of um, eating snacks. And as such, I actually regained all my weight. I mean, I was basically sedentary, more than sedentary for like 2.5 to 3 solid months. Like, no activity, nothing of any sort of note. And so, definitely there was muscle loss. Definitely there was a lot of fat regain. And honestly, the way I feel, how these last 2 weeks have gone, I'm definitely back to where I started. Absolutely. I think the muscle memory is going to kick in again, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But long story short, I got sick. Um, whatever it was in the sickness that attacked my oh, I guess I better finish there. Um, the doctor and I ended up concluding, a few weeks ago that it must have been just a virus that attacked my lungs. I kind of had a partial, not I wouldn't say collapse, but an issue with some of the alveoli not inflating all the way. There's a term for it. I don't know it right now. And of course, cat's going to the bathroom right now. Of course, during the recording. I don't know. Let's see if we can see her come out. Hi, Xena. Nope, there she is. Of course. That's probably staying in the video. Um, but where was I? Yes. So getting back to it, there was nothing of note. There was just nothing to say definitively, hey, Stefan, you had blah, 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 and this is why you felt the way you did. It's just, hey, he had a virus. Maybe it was pneumonia. Maybe it was something else. But either way, it attacked your lungs, maybe your heart, but you've mostly recovered. And things that attack these internal important organs can sometimes take a very, very long time to recover. Um, it just depends on how it attacks and how your body decides to fight it. Um, so, yeah, I mean, like I said, little hints here and there of what the issue might be, but nothing that I can like come out and say, hey, it was definitely that one thing. It was definitely this or that. It's just some virus attacked me, and I slowly but surely recovered. I made a plan. I stayed connected with my support. I took my medication faithfully and honestly, and here we are. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. The story, like I said, nothing really happened. I disappeared for 4 months because it was like I had nothing to report. If I had come on at the end or after, in March, or sorry, at the end of February, when my doctor said, well, you might be an organ failure, and came onto a video or even made a community post and said, well, the doc thinks I might be an organ failure. Let's see. I will get back on, let you guys know. All of the frickin' 40 of you that are watching my videos right now would be like, what the heck?" And then I come back at the end of this, I'm 100% fine, and it looks like, oh, well, maybe he was just, fishing for attention or whatnot, and he was just being lazy. Now, I don't believe that that is what, or how the people who watch and subscribe to me would react, but I did feel that until there was something to tell, there was nothing to tell. I do regret not saying something though. I feel that it may have been helpful, and I probably would have gotten some community support if I had said, "Hey, going through a rough time. Not sure what it is, but I'll update my folks as soon as I know more." You know. But I also felt pretty strong about it. I wanted to kind of tackle this my way, and I did. Um, and now I'm starting over. And so that, I mean, that's why this is chapter 0. We're kind of in a different modality with this one. A lot more formal, kind of more of a finished product. I know more of what I'm doing. I did a lot of research, and I'm very, I mean, reviewing how the last time went from October to December, how effective that was. I'm basically doing the same thing, but with my recovery, because I'm not 100% yet. I still have some chest pain, still have some difficulty breathing. Not too bad. Like I've been hitting my cardio quite well and everything like that, but yeah. Anyway, that's really all I got for what happened. So that's going to lead me into the next portion of this video. So, coming into this next phase of my life, or my journey, if you will, the next set of chapters of the Chronicles. For the most part, the goals have stayed the same. Main goal being lose weight, secondary goal being gain strength and ability with calisthenics, because I'm interested in that, not just as a method of strength building and weight loss, but of sport as well. Something that's really caught my eye is weighted calisthenics. So that's kind of more the end goal. But for now, my first goal is to lose weight. So, just like last time, I actually got all the way back up to a really high weight, as you can see here in this little video of me getting on the scale. This was actually earlier this morning, and I weighed in at, I believe, 254.8 or something like that. I kept getting on and off the scale, and it kept showing different numbers. So whichever one I think is the highest, that's where I'm at. Either way, that value isn't really important to me right now. I'm around 250, 255, I mean. That's what's important. The idea is to, like, once again, goal 200 pounds. I want to get to 200 pounds. The timeline for that is 6 months. So by the end of October, I do want to get to 200 pounds. That's, roughly 10 pounds per month. And halfway through that, I want to um, maybe take a week break for my deficit. Looking at it objectively, 12 solid weeks in a deficit will do me quite well. But by that point last time, I really slowed down my weight loss. Like, my weight loss really, really slowed down. And outside of straight up starving myself, because I was so excited about my weight loss last time that there were days where I barely ate anything. And then I put myself into really nasty situations where I wasn't getting enough salt. I was having like salt deficiency symptoms and all that stuff. Like shakes and cramps, of course, and fogginess and all that crap. And so I kind of realized that, I can't sacrifice health to get healthy. Like, it doesn't work that way. So this time I have a really solid understanding of what I'm supposed to do, how I should be running my diet, how I want to run my diet, not just how I should, but how I want to. I think that that's really, really important. I'm still doing what I feel is comfortable. I love intermittent fasting. It works really well for me. It's something I can do logically and reasonably well. And so I'm going to continue that intermittent fasting. Um, Nothing until 2 p.m. I start my feed at 2 p.m., end at by 8 p.m. So 6 hour feed window, and then it's just fluids and coffee for the rest of the time. No excess sugar. The only caffeine I intake is usually coffee, just black coffee. Every once in a while I'll do like an energy drink, but I don't intend to do any of the. I don't know if you can see. There's a little bit of pre-workout up there. I'm not doing any pre-workout. I don't really feel the need to. I'm usually pretty wired after a full day of work, so when I get home in the future going to workouts, I'm just gonna go hit it. So, um, yeah, we want to lose roughly 50 to 60 pounds. But we want to retain as much muscle as possible. That's a lot of weight in a short period of time. I will lose muscle. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's what we should all know is that there is muscle that you have to move the fat that you also carry, right? So um you may think like when you're fat that you're not strong, but that's really not the case. um, it's kind of like if I were to go do body weight calisthenics, yeah, I'm probably gonna suck because right now, because I'm lifting at my weight or at a like a higher at intensity, right? And my muscles have been tailored through daily experience to that weight, right? So they're accustomed to that. But when you go and you say I was to go curl 40s right now, I could probably curl 40s. Like that's not a problem, but I guarantee you that a skinny person who hasn't lifted at all goes and does that, and they won't be able to lift the weights. But you know what they will be able to do? Probably a pull up or three. But I couldn't do a pull up or three. So it's kind of this weird like inverse when it comes to body weight training versus exterior weight training. Um, and so when it comes to strength training with this, I feel that I'm going to lose some muscle. The goal is to not lose as much as possible. So high protein diet. I think the number I want to hit is about 200 to 220 grams of protein per day. Because that's like ideal plus a little bit wherever I can. And I'll tell you with the way that I eat, that's actually really difficult. One, it's difficult to afford. I don't, I'm not really huge into just like slamming protein shakes like that's or protein bars or anything like that. I want to get my protein from healthy sources, being like Greek yogurt, eggs, and meat, lean meat, and then like legumes and things like that. So I don't really want to get my protein from like artificially created protein sources or isolated sources, not too often. But that does result in a bit more of an expensive eating lifestyle. So it's kind of a little bit difficult. I can always just throw in a can of tuna or something like that for a quick boost, or just like whip up a bunch of eggs or something like that. But I'm also trying to stay in a calorie deficit, and that's been very carefully measured um, to make sure that I'm staying within, you know, the ideal for me personally is like 2,000 to 2,400 calories per day, which is a pretty aggressive, especially with the workload I'm going to be heading towards. I mean, working a physical job plus 30 minutes of cardio plus a workout after work, plus uh, my resting, my daily expenditure or whatever it is, it probably sits me at around 35 to 4,000. um Nah, maybe not. Maybe more like 32 to 37, right? Anyway, it's above 3,000. And so that's putting my deficit at probably more than 700, probably looking at like 1,000. But right now, while I have so much fat tissue and my body fat percentage is like at 30% plus, which it is, then I'm really going to lean into that fat. And that fat is going to be able to help feed the deficit for the muscle tissue as well. So, what I should be encountering, at least this first half, is kind of um, a transformation where I'm gaining muscle and losing fat. As I get closer to 200 pounds, I will be more likely to lose muscle with the fat, especially once I hit probably 220 or under. If I'm going below 220, I'm definitely going to be seeing a little bit of muscle loss, especially if I keep my protein, you know, around 200 grams. But I want to eat at my target, closer to what my target is. And the idea is to build back up once we get there. But and I may have this wrong. I may have to adjust it. I'm learning something new like every freaking day. Even now, 4 plus 6, so 10 months after I started this journey. So, you never know. But the straight the it didn't change from last time. Like, secondary goals are strength building. It's going to be cardio, core, calisthenics. I'm definitely not neglecting the core this time, though. I neglected the core a little bit last time. There was a lot of weeks where I wasn't doing my core on my Tuesdays and Thursdays, but this time I'm adamant to do it. I hate that my back pain has returned like fivefold. It just feels like whenever I gain weight, the back pain gets worse and worse. I've really got to nail that in and really strengthen my core to the point that whether I gain weight or lose weight, I need to protect that back. So, some tertiary goals I'll have listed here on the screen as well are going to be, aesthetics. I want to look good. I'm not going to detract from that. That's partially why I want to go into weighted calisthenics. I like weightlifting. I really actually enjoy it a lot. But I love calisthenics. And I have always wanted to do both at the same time. I kind of figure, why not? Why not bodybuild with calisthenics? If I want kind of maximize hypertrophy with calisthenic exercises. It gets a little weird though because they're limited in their isolation ability, so it's like I can't target the bicep very well, or I can't target the hamstring very well. Yeah, there's Nordic curls for the hamstring, and if I was some crazy man, I could get ups, what was it, upside down on a ladder and curl myself away from the ground. If I I'm not gonna do that, but I've seen it. Um, but I don't think that's necessary. The compound movements and the way that the muscles are targeted between pull-ups, push-ups, dips, and rows do the trick, or inverted rows do the trick. Like, I think that will be enough. There will be variations and progressions within those, maybe ways to make them more effective, to change up kind of what part of the muscle group is accentuated versus another one, so on and so forth. But I don't. Calisthenics is the way it is because the way it is the way it is, and it's great. It's very compound and simple, and that works for me. Another thing is community. I keep having this like thought that I kind of want to like generate some sort of community here in Anchorage, focused on outdoor exercising and calisthenics in particular. Not that I have no idea if there is one, but whether I find one or create it, I want to identify it. And then channel growth. I don't know if this is even going to work, if this is going to be something that I want to do long term or short term. Maybe I just finish this journey, this project, and then I cut it off there. Or maybe this works out and I can continue on and make something real of this. I really hope I can. It feels right in my gut and in my heart. Feels like something where I can work on myself, become the man I want to be, the man I want to show my children, and also help others at the same time. It kind of like checks all the boxes. Um, but it's interesting. We'll see. I'm not holding out for it. For now, it's just a hobby, little thing I do on the side, alongside of getting healthy finally. And on that note, we're gonna move on to the fitness plan, and I've got to pull up the I'm gonna pull up the spreadsheet for that, and we're gonna review it together. Taking a look at the fitness plan. Um, you can see it on screen right here. I created a Google Sheet uh, explaining basically what my plan is. And as you can see, I've actually already gotten through the first um, 2 weeks of it. And I have planned out up to 8 weeks, but I've broken it out into 4 week portions. So I'm going to do a brief overview of kind of how the fitness plan works, why I decided to do it, and how we're going to tackle it. So, starting out, we're in the recovery phase. I'm right in the middle of it, actually. Um, Coming off of the end of this sickness, this illness, whatever, I couldn't just jump right back into what I was doing before and expect to be awesome. I also didn't start last time the way I wanted to. I kind of really rushed into it. And so this way I can really establish where my start point should be, as well as really just working myself into it so that it's not overwhelming and I'm not burnt out by the time I'm starting full tilt. And so these first 2 weeks, like last week, was only 3 periods of cardio, 20 minutes each, very low intensity. So it was like lower resistance on the bike here. And then this week, which I'll also like factor in a little bit of, you'll probably be seeing the some video here in a minute of me doing cardio, but it was at 30 minutes at low intensity, that same intensity that I did the week prior, but for all 5 days. And then with a little bit of an active rest, walk at the park. I actually did 10 minutes bike warm up this morning. That's actually what you're seeing. And then next week, I'm upping the intensity on the 30-minute cardio and finally starting a core workout, which I'm really excited about. Um, Only going to do 2 sets per workout here, but for the most part, the rest of the week is the same as last week. We have the active rest here, and cardio, just cardio the rest of the days, and then a standard rest day. Then the following week, which is the final week of the recovery phase, is going to be an uptick in cardio. Add 5 minutes to it. We're going to keep core the same amount of sets. And so the only change this week was an uptick in cardio. But at the end of it, on Saturday, and this will be Saturday, let's see, 8th of 15th, so the 16th of May, I'll be doing the fitness test. And the idea is to put out chapter 1, the next video after this fitness test, so I can include it into that video. Because that's really going to mark the true start here. And so we're going to launch into that fitness test, and it's really just going to be doing each of my exercises, not core, just lower body and upper body exercises, 1 set max, to get a baseline and establish what my workouts should be, like where I should be starting on rep counts for sets. Now I'll still probably do it more by feel, I just want to try. So that's why I'm doing the fitness test. It's also going to be cool because I can probably redo the fitness test at the end of this and see how much I've actually improved, regardless of however the cycle goes. But regardless, after the 16th, we're finally going to be back into it, which I'm super excited about, and we're going to start what I like to call my V split. I've mentioned it before, but not really explained how it works. I called it the V split because it starts upper body on Monday, goes to core on Tuesday, goes to lower body on Wednesday, goes to core on Thursday, and then goes back to upper body on Friday. And the reason for two upper body workouts per week and only one lower body workout per week is one, cardio, or not cardio, calisthenics. I because all of my cardio is leg based, I don't feel like I should work legs more than the one solid, really hard, and it's hard. I mean, it's really, really hard per week. I don't really want, and until I get a squat rack or access to one, um, I'm not really gonna be reaching for like super massive legs. All the body weight work that I do on my legs is going to promote endurance anyway. So it's going to be really hard to, until I get extra weight to put on, to really engage hypertrophy and muscle building on those working sets. So lower body is really just going to be once per week. Just freaking go balls to the walls, get her done, and move on. But upper body is what I really want to focus on. So I'm definitely making sure to hit upper body twice per week. Thus, my V split. Um, and it's just because of the shape that it goes up and down the body. So, um, I've not really ever seen it anywhere else. If you've seen somebody make a similar workout plan or something like that, or somebody else has coined the term V split, it's maybe not even my creation. I don't care. I'm not claiming it or anything like that. It's just what I'm calling it because it matches. But basically, the idea is to work myself up these next 4 weeks after the fitness test, bringing cardio up to 45 minutes, going up 5 minutes every 2 weeks, which actually, if you can see, started in the last week of the recovery phase. So, the first this I had 2 weeks of 30 minutes, then I'm gonna have 2 weeks of 35 minutes, then I'm gonna have 2 weeks of 40 minutes, and then I'm gonna have my target, which is 45 minutes of cardio, and hopefully I'll be able to stay there. Now, I'm not gonna continue steady state cardio for the whole time. Cardio for me is gonna be more than just used for fat burning or to just be a steady state thing. I After this setback, I think I've realized that my heart and my lungs are pretty important to me, and I really want to make sure that those are hunky dory. So I may redo some of the cardio to be more hit, do more hit cardio, because that's just as effective, takes less time, and honestly is a lot more enjoyable. Being able to go really, 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 really hard for a short period of time, then chilling out for a while. It's kind of like doing sets for your heart and your lungs. It literally is. It's literally weightlifting for your heart and lungs. So I'm 100% for transitioning to hit later on, but I want to kind of expose myself to the intensity and the endurance first, and then jump into hit. And then along this, it's kind of a similar thing every 2 weeks, upping how many sets I'm doing, and within those sets, because by this point I'll be having a certain rep range that I'm going to be increasing and progressing on. Um, then I'm going to be increasing those sets, um, those reps per set as well. And so by the end of week 12, whenever I get this whole thing figured out and finished, hopefully we're looking at a really, really solid workout. And then we'll probably have like a deload um, to go along with the rest period um, from the deficit as well. Kind of just a full recovery week, maybe even two. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. We'll get there when we get there, and then jump back into it for the last 3 months of work. Well, 3 months. Actually, it looks like 2 months. So actually, the I guess the cutoff is more like right here. So that just about does it for the fitness plan. And like I said, I want to get into weighted calisthenics. I don't know when I'm going to do that. I want to say that I want to purchase a vest when I hit 220 pounds and under, and then build my weight back up along, especially if I'm getting up there in reps. I don't want to like supersede, um, 16, 18, 20 reps per set. Ideally, it takes forever. It's incredibly fatiguing, but not really like muscle building, as far as I understand. So to kind of bring it back to like the hypertrophy, it's going to be kind of like a let's get up to that and then rebuild down, but increase weight, So yeah, that's kind of the fitness plan. It'll change as time goes on, and I'll review it with you in every video. Moving on, we go to the stat tracker. This is how I'm going to be recording all of my stats. It took me a while to figure this one out. But basically, first and foremost, tracking the data. Before you figure out like what you're going to track, you have to figure out why you're tracking it. Obviously, weight. I want to see the graph. And it's really just to make sure that I'm losing weight ideally. And what that means is like when I get this put into the visual graph, which I don't have anything made yet, but when I do, it should show a lot of like down, 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 spike up, down, 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 spike up, down, 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 spike up, or maybe some sort of thing. It shouldn't be just a linear straight down, or I shouldn't have super inconsistent data, if that makes sense. If I am, then I'm doing something wrong, whether it be starving myself or not being faithful to my diet, right? So that's kind of why weight and where I can see how things change. And I'm going to do it daily. I don't have to. I could do it twice per week. I could even do it once per week and then just, or, I could factor in all the dailies into 1 week averages and all that shit. But just going to do it daily because I just want to collect all the data. And then the rest of the data is really because one of the questions I've had, and I had this question last time. I really want to answer this question this time. Is how much work did I put in? Would does someone put in going from zero to hero, right? So like if they're doing cardio and they started cardio at the beginning of their journey, just how many miles did that person do of what cardio type? In this case, my recorded cardio is going to be on my recumbent bike here, which you probably saw at some point. Um, it's not going to be like super official, like, oh, the recumbent bike, you don't actually ride 1 whole mile in XYZ amount of effort and time and whatever the case is. This is just a rough estimate because anybody who goes to lose weight or decides to do track cardio is gonna record the number that shows on their freaking machine, or onto their on from their bike or their GPS tracker if they're walking or whatnot. They're going to record that number. And that may be skewed as well. So it doesn't really matter, does it? But what it is a measure of your effort. And it's always related or relational to what you put out, right? Because like when I go to the park, if I were to go to the park and I do like 1 mile of walking, and I note in my head where that was and how I felt at that time, then next time I go out to walk that distance, and if I go 10 meters more and I'm at a different place at that park, and the GPS says I went 10 meters more, I'm going to consider that a win. Now, whether I actually did or not, or whether it factors in walking from the freaking car or not, doesn't really matter, right? So it's all proportional and relative. That was the word, relative. To go with it too, I want to know how many minutes. How many minutes did I sit and pedal on that thing by the end of this? So, um, data starts, as you can see, on the 4th of May. Data is going to ideally end when I hit 200 pounds or the end of October. Okay. And that's for all of this data. And then, plain and simple, I just want to know how many reps I got out. I don't I don't need to know. There's going to be different ways to track how I improved and how I didn't improve, or whatever the case is, in terms of um, my progression, right? So, like lying leg raise, I'm going to be able to kind of see by total reps per day, you know, how much I've improved or not. That's the wonderful thing about calisthenics, especially because it's going to be body weight. At this point, all of these are not affected by a weight range. So right now I'm tracking one dimension of it, if that makes sense, instead of doing two. Generally, when you track these things, you kind of factor in two dimensions. You're factoring number of reps at what weight, right? So there's two dimensions to that data. This data is very one dimensional. How many did you do? Period. But I want to know. I want to know about from May 4th until the end of October, or till I hit 200 pounds, how many core exercises, upper body and lower body exercises of which kind, which progression did I do? You know? Excuse me. And so that's kind of what I want to see. This data is easy enough to track because every single time I go out to work out, I'm going to be recording down what I do. And so I can just add that up, throw it into the sheet, and go to bed, or whatever the case is. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let me see. Did that hit everything? Yeah, that did. So that's data collection, plain and simple. And then, I'll get it visualized onto graphs and tables and all that stuff, and maybe we can see some interpretations of it. Mind you, I am not a professional. Like, I didn't go to school or anything to learn how to be a fitness coach, or do anything like that. I generated all of this based on my own research, my own will, what I've learned throughout life, some things I learned from the military, um, and YouTube, really. I mean, YouTube did a huge portion of it. Um, and that, brings me to the last bit here. So I just kind of want to close out by speaking to my motivation for the project, why I'm actually continuing it in spite of the setback and everything, and it's the same reason I started the YouTube channel. One, I have my own questions about fitness, questions that I haven't been able to answer by watching any given fitness influencer or professional or anything of the sort. And so I decided to answer them myself. I kind of figured, well, if I have these questions about doing it this way, with this information, using this information and data to track and all that stuff, maybe somebody else does too. And maybe I can help somebody else. And maybe I can bring some realism to it. Um, and to really show that with enough planning, preparation, and execution, no matter your environment. I'm in Alaska, and if you've seen my previous videos, you saw I was out there in 0 degrees working out. With enough preparation, it's possible. I didn't go to a gym. I didn't have to pay for anything other than my gear, and I got that over time. I don't make a crap ton of money. Um, I'm really just pulling this off by the skin of my teeth, to be fair. Um, but each time an obstacle presents itself, a solution has presented itself right after. It's made me more resilient, and it's kind of just really pushed me along to continue this project, this deal. So, yeah, answer questions about weight loss, muscle building, and what it takes, and hopefully help someone along the way. And really to just prove that it's possible, especially in this modality. It's like, one, can I lose weight outdoors exercising in Alaska without a gym, without having to pay for one, doing something, and still like gain muscle too? Because I mean, in the entirety of Alaska is like outdoors friendly, like just go for a walk. But some people want to do a little bit more than that, and some people want more from their exercise than just going out and walking. And I would recommend it. I think that muscle building, or sorry, strength building, some sort of resistance exercise is vital to um, changing your outcomes. Um, so, yeah, I mean, that's really the motivation, is just getting my curiosity answered, and hopefully hoping I can help someone else along the way. And if you're watching this and I've helped you, all I can say is actually thank you for taking what I've done or said and making it a part of your life. I really hope that what I can show will help you along, but um, I guess we'll just see how things shake out in the end. Before I finish out, I just want to throw out a quick thanks to my family, my wife, my kid, um, especially my wife. Man, she really just hung in there during this setback. She really picked up the slack, and did a lot, suffered a lot for me. And now I'm kind of getting back into the groove and taking back some responsibility and ownership for my side of my side of the responsibilities, and it's starting to ease up on her a little bit. But couldn't have done it. Obviously, I couldn't have done it without her. Thank you to my grandma, and to my mom, and my brother. Thanks, bro. Love you. You're the best. Um, you always keep me laughing. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. Um, and then, my friends from work. Um, it was hard, but you guys really just kept in there, and took care of the workplace while I was gone. And now that I'm back, it's not that bad to get the ball rolling again. And then one last shout out to my doctor. Um, Dude, you're just a stud, absolute stud. You made me feel like you believed me, even when I felt like I was going crazy about all this. So thank you. Thanks to everyone. Um, there's no giving up. It's not going to end here. And thanks for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next time. So this will be my first time to the Fit Lot since, I think late winter, just to see if maybe, it's set and ready. Make sure it's 100% melted and dry. So let's go ahead and check it out. See what we've got. It's looking pretty good. The water behind the fit lot has thawed too, so looks like we're 100% set to get back to work here once I'm ready. So it's awesome.